Hey, well, my name is Axzellia. I'm from Johannesburg. I went to school there, Bukit Primary, all of that. It was like
Is it in
a little
Batu?
area, yeah. That was while I moved schools, they were already planning to send me overseas. I actually traveled to London at the time. I was 11. My mom traveled with me because this was my first time, like
Your
ever
first time,
traveling
yeah.
out of the country.
Yeah.
It's not in Central, but it's in London still.
Yeah.
Like, I was on my dad. I was getting to know him, and at first, my dad had asked me to call him by his first name. It's actually very different in the UK
In
than
the
it
UK.
is to here.
Yeah.
First, it was kind of like everyone was so interested in this idea, like
Yeah.
this is an African girl, this is an
African,
African girl. Definitely, there were a lot of racial incidents. For example, teachers would really expect me to steal. They'd expect me to cheat. Things started to change when my uncle came from South Africa. They started to treat me like different. All of a sudden now, yeah, he had that military association. And your dad does this. He has the kind of money to just disappear and come back when he feels like it. We good, do you?
Yeah.
Unlock your story. Unlock your story. I was scared in Dabari, Bakupi Dabagi. Spalele, I keep in Pagati. Falala, I was in Pagati. Tabon.
Hi man, good day sanibonani. My name is Tabang Sibeka, abanye bangazi ngodabula, abanye bathi wele, abanye bathi twin. Hey man, inxushunxushu man, siphansi siphezulu siyashuta ama-camera. Look, we're having fun today. Tibo Touch intwana sekhaya kuhamba njani?
Yane njengeyivunu ze-Stodla.
Awungithathi umvelo.
Beka company name Thabo Touch. It's another episode. Sinilethela ama-female on the Sundays. Khathele inje because I labantu laba man baney'tori ezimangazayo. At least ama-female man aney'tori ezitouch inyana ene. Ngizwile ngale'tori zabo cwecwe.
Yeah.
Yazi very small khuluma man because ukuvaleleka ngaphakathi ukubhotla lapha izinto nabo kuyabulala uthola abantu bakhomitha ama-suicide kusasa. So we have our guest today. She's gonna introduce herself. So niyabona vandag.
We are about to
unlock vandag.
Yeah man.
Sazi ukuthi siyava because abanye bebasibuza ukuthi why ningafaki lokho ni-unlocka kanjani kuyena ngithi.
Yeah, so welcome to our beautiful
Welcome
show.
to our beautiful show.
Unlock Stories. Don't forget to subscribe, like, also comment. Today's story is a different one. My sister, how you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah,
What's
man.
up with you?
Nice things. Today people are wondering who's this lady. Can you just take us on your journey? But first, just introduce yourself, who you are, and where you're coming from.
Okay, well, my name is Axzellia. I'm from Johannesburg,
Yeah.
born and raised. That's what's up. City girl life.
So you were born here in South Africa.
Yes, I'm South African. I was born here.
Which
Oh.
hospital?
You know what? I should ask Mom T. I won't. I don't ask those.
Yeah.
I'll ask Mom T.
Alright, then you can just take us on your journey on how did you grow up here in South Africa until maybe probably now, but step by step, you can just go on your journey on where do you remember yourself and what they told you about your life.
Okay, so we start with my grandma.
Yeah.
So ever since like my mom moved from Durban to Johannesburg,
Oh,
she
okay,
started
okay.
her life here for herself, and then
Yeah.
she kind of like helped everyone come down. So the
Yeah.
fam was in Durban, and then they all moved to Joburg. And so
Okay.
my aunt had a house there, and my grandma was living there.
In Durban?
And no, in Joburg.
Oh, in Joburg,
Because they all moved down, you see. So
Okay,
from
yeah.
then, my grandma lived there, and I actually lived there with my aunt and my gran for some time.
Yeah,
Mom was
yeah.
working, she was doing her thing. And then she eventually bought a house, so my gran moved in with us.
Which
Yeah.
side? This side.
So there's this area in Sandton.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure, like it's very small. I call it Bucktown. It's actually Buklu. It's in
Oh,
Sandton.
Buklu, yeah, I know
Not everyone
Buklu.
knows about it, but yeah, that's where I'm from. That's where I stay. So my mom got a house there, and I've lived there ever since we moved there with my grandma.
Yeah.
But I went to school there, Bukit Primary, all of that. It was like
is it in
a little
Batu?
area. Yeah, that was the area I was in. I lived there, went to school there. But when my grandmother passed away, they wanted to like change schools for me, because while that was happening, they were considering changing my environment. Like, isn't it I'm a kid, but as I understood it was that because my grandma wasn't around, they wanted me to like not be in that space where I'm missing my grandma and things like that. So they reached out to my dad, who actually lived overseas. He'd been in the UK for over 20 years. So that was his lifestyle. That's where he was. So
did you visit your dad while he was there at UK? Or?
I actually hadn't met my dad at all before this point, because I'd been living with my grandma and my mom here in South Africa for so long. So while I moved schools, they were already planning to send me overseas and stuff like that. So I did grade 6, and then I actually traveled to London. At the time I was 11.
How's London?
It's cold. It's very cold. It's very cold. It's cold world. Cold world, you know. Yeah, no, it's very cold outside.
Very cold, ne?
It was very different to
From this side.
the noise that you're used to here. Like, there's a lot of natural noise. There's not even that. There's birds. There's wind. There's sound. There's something going on. When you go to England, it's just city silence. Everywhere you go is quiet, unless you're on the road or unless you're with people, or if you're chatting up with someone. That's where it's at. So I arrived there, and I was with my mom. My mom traveled with me because this was my first time ever traveling out of the country. So she went with me, and I met my dad for the first time. That time at the airport,
How old were you?
I was 11.
11 years, yeah.
So I met my dad for the first time, and it was a bit weird because, imagine calling someone that you've never met in your life
And
dad.
then you say
Hello,
dad for the first time.
You don't know who this person is. So it's just kind of like,
it's gonna be difficult.
It was kind of like I was very used to having all the attention on me. My mom provided everything for me. She made sure that I never lacked anything. If I wanted anything, she made sure I was good. So this person was so unfamiliar, so new. What are you about? Are you like my mom? Are you like everyone I know? You're from London. What are London people like? I was just a kid, so obviously all these things were running through my head. But he took us down to one of his houses in Ashford. It's not in Central, but it's in London still. It's a bit far, but we stayed there for a bit, and that's when my parents broke down to me that I'm not going back to South Africa.
They never told you that.
We're visiting your dad. That was the story. We're seeing your dad. That's what's going on. And it was actually such a nice thing, because before I left, I had this farewell, and all my friends were there, family friends, and it's just it was a nice party. So I thought that this was a party for my vacation.
So your mom came back, or?
So it was they were telling me that I'm going to be staying in England. I'm going to be going to school here. There's an opportunity for me to be here. I won't lie, I freaked out. I was not happy about that at all. Because I feel like I was just so used to having my way.
Your way,
when I was being told what to do. I was just kind of not having it, as a kid as well.
At least if they told you earlier on that you must prepare yourself, you're going to be staying in UK.
So they told me that, and my mom had to leave actually a few days after that. So we had some time to prepare for her leave and my stay. So it was just a lot. It was being with a stranger. I don't know who this person is, but this person is my father, so everything's gonna be good, right? Right. So I settled. I was there for a few days. Everything was actually really fun at first. We went touring, we went shopping, we were on the buses. I was on my dad. I was getting to know him. And at first, my dad had asked me to call him by his first name. Don't call me dad, call me by my first name. Because
so that you can get used to him.
Thing is, I didn't want to do that now, because you didn't tell me that the first second I met you. Don't switch up. Don't switch up on me. I have to get used to the first thing. So we can settle on something, Papa Lance. Let's do that. How's that? That's fine, because his name is Lance. So, that was going on. My dad's a very practical, logistic, rational guy. He's very straightforward, straight to the point, black and white kind of behavior. It's either this or that. That's it. So obviously now, when I settled and all the shopping and all the fun was over, it was time for school. So now
the very first time. Different environment.
So I had to go to how can I explain? I had to go to this course where they had to test where I was, like
Yeah.
where was I, where do I stand, what grade am I in, because the grading system is actually very different in the UK than it is to here.
Yeah.
Children start school younger, you see.
At what
So
age do they start?
They normally start at 4 or 5. Here in
Yeah.
SA, you're in grade 1 and you're 6. You see,
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's how it is. So I got there and I was in like this little school just to study and do exams
Yeah.
to see if I qualify for this academy my dad applied
Okay.
onto me for. So
Yeah.
he wanted me to go to this academy, but it was all the way in Glasgow. So like we're now in England, Ashford. Now we're going all the way to Scotland, and that's outside of England.
Yo, that's outside
So
of England, yeah.
he wanted to go all the way there to Glasgow. That's where the academy was. So
okay.
I had to pass. This was the plan.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
this is what we were
So
doing.
it's a must.
So it was. I feel like for the first few months getting there, I didn't really, how can I say, adapt to the culture or do anything in particular because I was so focused on building a lifestyle here, getting into school, doing something here. Because I am so young, I am under guardianship, so that kind of thing. And fortunately, I passed because work hard, get results, like
Congrats.
that.
Yeah.
So I passed and I qualified to go to Bishop Briggs Academy.
Yeah.
And that was it was high school. It was high school at 12. So it was just kind of like.
How was the language though? Was it the same as the one in South Africa?
You know
or
what I learned actually? Scottish English is very different to the normal English in England.
In England.
Even so, it was just kind of like one culture shock to an even deeper culture shock because when I got there, it was not even like I got there, started school immediately. I got there, my dad had this house, he had it furnished, was settling in and all of that stuff. Cool. Now, first day of school, I get there and I couldn't hear a word anybody was saying. Like I couldn't hear a word anybody was saying because I feel like people were maybe not getting annoyed, but they were kind of expecting an African not to understand.
Okay,
You get what I'm saying?
You never had friends.
At first, it was kind of like everyone was so interested in this idea, like this is an African girl, this is an African girl.
They hear that
They hear African and they automatically assume black, like you're a black person. This is what it is. And growing up, I feel like I was just so torn between knowing who I am, what I am, what's going on with that, because my friends are black, my friends are colored, my friends are white, everyone is Indian, everyone is one thing. Everyone knows what's going on. I'm mixed race. My father's European, he's mixed race himself, my mom is Indian. So imagine like not eating Indian food, eating normal stew because my mom's Joburg baby, so she makes that normal stuff, and then not knowing who my dad was at all. And then now everyone's like, my mom made me fat cook. Oh, I'm wearing this for Heritage Day. I'm doing this, and it's like, what's your culture? And it's like,
are you confused?
It's like, my culture. What does that mean? Where does that come from? And here in South Africa, having a culture is the essence of like the nation here, because it's like all the cultures are separated in languages, tribes, Xhosa, Zulu, everyone has their own thing going on. But when you're mixed race, you're not really even part of the colored crew because they're speaking Afrikaans and they're fluent. So you're not really part of anything. And like obviously I was included and my friends loved me and I was very like okay growing up, but there was always that question of, who are you? What does this mean to be mixed race? What does this mean for your body? What does it mean for your language? What is your when you go back home and you go to school with a smell? What is that smell? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, like that. So when I went to England, it was just kind of like this was me finding out. This was me going back to that question of who am I, what's going on. So I got into it, and it was just crazy because I was actually like one of 3 brown people in the entire school at the time.
Wow.
So it was just kind of like those brown people were not African brown people. So they had their Scottish culture embedded into them because they were born and raised there. So obviously getting there, it's, do you like watermelon? Do you like chicken? Do you like basketball? It's like, no, I'm vegetarian. I'm like this, I'm like that. Like, things like that. It was just so different from what they had an idea of compared to who I was. So I feel like for a long time I was confused as to, number one, who am I? What's my culture? And now, what does it mean to be mixed race if this person is like this,
Yeah.
that person is like
It's
this,
like
culture is
that,
like
yeah,
this.
yeah,
So
true.
what are you? My dad is European. This is how European people behave. So
yeah,
is this
yeah.
how I should behave? And being a kid, not knowing, but having to put people on was like, whoa, it was crazy.
How are you not
So-
used to your father?
No, I'm not used to him, you see, because I was just getting to know him, and it was just so much as a kid to go to another country and want to be proudly South African, but not knowing what I'm proud of
What
as
are
a
you
South
proud of?
African.
Yeah.
Never
So-
mind my resources, never mind my culture, never mind the food and the vibe here.
Yes.
Who is Axzellia? What does
Yeah.
that mean? You know,
Yeah.
like that.
So did you ever like experience any racism that side, or as
Yeah.
you said, like they were like those Scottish, you know?
Unfortunately, there were a lot of racial incidents, especially when it came to general things. Like,
Yeah.
for example, teachers would really expect me to steal. They'd expect me to steal. They'd expect me to cheat. They'd expect me to not know things.
Oh,
they'd,
yeah.
they'd be slower with me. They'd kind of treat me like, I don't know, like I was dumb
Yeah,
or something.
yeah,
You get what I'm
yeah.
saying? But my dad always told me, like, you're in the exact same uniform as them. Whatever
yeah.
opportunity they have, you have as well.
Yeah.
You're not lacking. If anything, you're on their level, and they don't like that.
Yeah,
You know, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
grew up with my mom telling everybody, like, you're jealous of my child, you know, she has it also. My mom is like, you're jealous of everybody, mom.
Yeah.
Dad, be confident in yourself. So best believe I had the best support system when it came from my parents.
Yeah,
you see, growing up.
that's nice.
So yeah, that, and then so I was there for like a few years, but things started to change when my uncle came from South Africa.
Or he came that side of the
He came, and it was supposed to be just a visit, but then he started acting up like, she's a child and she's South African, so why does she get to stay here, but I'm a grown man who can work? Why can't I stay here? You know, why can't I live here? What's going on? And so my dad was like, okay, you're my brother, I'll let you stay here, get a job.
Get a job, yeah.
But
yeah.
you see now, obviously, my dad, he himself had a lot going on. He was an IT specialist. He
Yeah,
was actually
yeah.
part of the team that started internet banking here in SA. So it was
wow.
like he'd been in it for very, very long. So he makes money, a lot of money from that. And he was like part of the Europol team that side in Europe.
Yeah.
And he had like a military association here because he was
Okay.
in the military here in SA.
In SA,
So
yeah.
he had a few things going on for him that he monetized a lot. So my dad was pretty well off when things were going on. So
Yeah.
he traveled a lot, and he traveled
okay.
with me too. So it's like when my uncle arrived, he was like, you know what? I don't need to take you with me to travel. You can stay here with your uncle, go
Yeah.
to school, have a normal life.
Okay,
You see,
I see,
like
I see,
that.
yeah.
But when my dad left, my uncle just like switched up. Like he
Wanted
switched
to
up.
be the dad now.
No, not wanting to be the dad. There's suddenly a grudge from my mom from 15,000 years ago that I now have to fix. I now have to deal with. So now he was very like oppressive. He was very like I came from South Africa very protected, very like
yeah,
you know, okay
yeah.
with things. My mom was always like
Yeah,
around me.
yeah.
And then I'm going to my dad, who is also, I'm a child.
Yeah.
Remember this, I'm only 12 now at this point. So I'm very surrounded by a lot of supervision, a lot of parents.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of those kids that maybe had an unfortunate situation where drugs was put in front of me, or I
Yeah,
drank
yeah,
by
yeah.
accident or anything
Exactly,
like that.
yeah.
I grew up in a Christian home. My mom didn't believe that you could be Christian and drink. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know. I have different opinions about that, but
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
my mom, and that's what she
Yeah.
believes. So I didn't have that growing up. So it was just kind of like my uncle wanted, how can I say, his experience with the kids he was around, trying to push that on me.
On you, yeah.
Like I'm
yeah.
like this, I like boys, I take drugs, and I'm in England. I'm in a country I've never been in. Number one,
You don't
so
even know what's
all
going
these thoughts that
Yeah.
were coming from him were very like oppressive and scary. And when I would tell my dad like, this was going on, like my uncle's being a bit scary, like he's
harsh on you.
getting weird with this, and he was just telling me like, report to my friend. There's a friend that lived close by. Report
yeah.
to him.
At least,
Blah blah
yeah.
blah. When I report to him, he comes and speaks to my uncle to have me stay over the night because he had kids, and I'm friends with them.
Yeah.
Stuff's our neighborhood, and he would say like I should just come stay over, and my uncle would like tell him I'm lying. I just don't want to eat my food. I don't want to do my homework. I'm not from around. South African kids are like this. You don't know. Blah blah blah. Just kind of gaslighting the guy to make him think that he's unfamiliar with the kind of person I am.
Yeah.
Even though I live here and I've been here for like 2 years.
Yeah.
So unfortunately things started getting like really hectic, and he started to physically abuse me, like hit me and beat me up, and he would make me go to school, cover up the scars and things like that. So it could be a very warm day, but I'd have to wear the jackets and the blazers and the things like that just so you don't see that I have scars on my body right now. And it got really intense because I told my dad actually like this is what's happening. And he said like, what do you mean this is what's happening? And apparently when I'd been telling my dad that like I'd been hitting him, my uncle would give him reasons like I brought a boy over, I stole his money,
those type of stories,
lies.
Yeah.
And it was literally lies because the money that went missing he would find. If you found it, how could I have taken and used it?
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So things were getting really hectic for me because what had happened is that now I was sending my dad photographic images of my scars,
your scars,
and he would send me to doctor appointments where they would mesh it up, heal it, put creams, dermatologists. It's just this whole cover up for this abuse. It was like really hectic, but this is what I was going through in the moment, and I didn't feel safe to even tell my mom because it was just like I didn't know what to do. Like this is where I am. I can't escape. I can't get on a plane right now. I'm not even 10 minutes away from home. I'm in another country. I'm overseas. So it was like really scary. And I don't know, by God's grace, one day I wore a shirt, I wore a blazer. My long shirts were actually dirty, they were in the washing, but I wore a blazer. I made sure to wear a blazer, and I had these patches from the healing and from the new scars. There were scars on top of those, you see. So it was just...
Did you think of telling maybe the teachers
at
school or
like,
someone?
This is what actually happened. So I was walking to the bus stop, and my friend was like in a very energetic mood today. She was like all vibes, like, oh my gosh, Hazy, gave me like the tightest hug ever, and I couldn't pretend that didn't hurt. I was like, ouch. And she thought I was saying ouch because she squeezed me too hard. So I was almost about to get away with it, and then she like jokingly, what's wrong with you, hit me on my shoulder. And I don't know if like, I don't remember if it burst or what, but there was like a leak, and I started to bleed like on one side of my arm, and it came out of my blazer. And my friend was like, yo, what's going on? What's wrong with you right now? And I had to cover up like, oh no, I had a scar, it's cool, it's under my blazer, don't worry about it. She's like, oh, let me see, like, what did you do? Because she's energetic right now. She's not comprehending that this is my situation, so she was just like, no, take it off. And I'm like, trying to brush it off. And while we're waiting for the bus, off guard, she comes by and pulls off my blazer. And I had these scars, and she was just like, what the heck? What is this? What's going on? And we're not far from my house, so I was like really, really scared to tell her like, this is what's going on for me at home. And she was just like, does anyone know about this? And I lied, and I said, yes, this is being dealt with. This is like, don't worry about it. So she was just like, okay, let's just go to school, right? We went to school, and she reported it to the teacher that I had injuries. And I already lied to her. So she told the teacher, like the teacher already knew. You see? So she's like, oh, what have you guys been doing about these bruises? And then she was like, what bruises? And so they called me in, and my life completely changed from that day. From that day, my life completely changed because they were just like, it's illegal to physically touch a child in England. It's illegal. It's a law. You cannot do that.
It's not like in South Africa where children will
this
say
is
I have
horrible.
rights.
So it's like, the teacher kind of saw, she took me in a room, and she's like, you're not going home today. And I was like, no, I have to go home.
I have to go,
There's
yeah.
a time I have to be home. I have to go home. I have to cook. I have to clean. There's things I have to do. I have to study. My tutor's coming. Like there's a schedule, and my uncle wants to make sure my dad doesn't know that this is happening. So he kept very, very tight to the schedule. You see. If I didn't show up to a tutor at 3:15, something is wrong. Something is shy. My dad's gonna know I didn't show up. You know. So he tried his best to cover this up, and I tried my best to go home. So to calm me down, they were like, okay, you're gonna stay here until the day ends, and then we're gonna take you home. We'll take you home.
Okay,
You don't have to take the bus today.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool, fine. And I really believed them.
Yeah.
When after school came, ding, social workers. I was like, holy shit, this is happening.
Deep
This
now.
is real. They were like, listen, my girl, we understand that you're scared of going home, but that is exactly why you're not going home. I was like, ding, I gave myself away by being like scared of going home. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I gave myself away just like that. So from there, they took me into like this foster care situation. But I wasn't there for long. I was just there for like a day or 2
days,
and then I found a family that was willing to take me in. And I really thought that was gonna be my life. Hey, I thought I was gonna be like this child, this refugee, this foreigner living with this family now, and they take care of me and whatever. And my dad actually heard of this. But when my dad heard of this, it had already been too late. I had already been taken away from my uncle. They'd already taken my stuff from the house. Like they'd already filed the papers. Like everything was just.
Dad was not
No, he was traveling because my uncle was under my supervision. So that happened, and my dad was not happy with it. He was just like, my child has parents. My child is not an orphan. My child is not a refugee. This child can afford to leave. She can go home. She can do things. It's you guys that are not allowing her to leave. You want her in the system, and she won't be. I'm not having it. So like they were in the situation where they had to allow me to travel alone as a minor, and like it was hard for them because they understood that I'm not from this country, but they also understood that I'm a child that's been abused. So how do they know I'm not going back to my dad where my uncle is? How do they know that? You know, they don't. So for like 4 months, it was like a whole process of getting me out of England, like getting me out of the country. For 4 months, I stayed with the foster family that took care of me, and finally, my dad was just like, I'm involving my people now. The military is getting involved now. I want my child back home. This was happening. So I don't know what he did, who he called, but like one night they were like, you're going home this weekend. And I was like to my uncle, they were like, no, you're going to South Africa. And I was just like shocked. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was just like, yo, I'm going home. Finally, that didn't even feel like finally. It felt like now I have to go tell my mom why I'm coming back home.
Your mom knows?
No, she didn't know. She knew that I wasn't at home, but she didn't know that I'm not at home because I was being abused. So it was just like this whole cover up. And I had to now come home and explain to my mom like I'd been abused, you know, and it was just kind of like going home wasn't exciting because that foster family, they started to switch up on me now. They started to treat me like different all of a sudden now. Like the foster family in England, they started treating me differently. Like they started accusing me now all of a sudden, now it's this, now it's that, now all these things I didn't do, now I suddenly did. And I was just like, you know what, I'm glad I'm leaving if this is the case. This was going on. Like first is figuring out who I am, not knowing my culture, not understanding my race, not knowing my father, meeting my uncle, being abused by my uncle, and then going back home after all of this.
Now take us on your journey when you first came back to South Africa. Like when you first got home, like did they ask like questions like how was it, what was going on?
So I got home, and I went home to my mom, but my dad hadn't told me that I'm just visiting. I'm not staying with my mom. I'm gonna stay with him because he had bought now a place, and now we're gonna live in South Africa. So we bought a place, and we're gonna be staying there. He put me in a school, all that stuff, and it was just like, again, I didn't have time to settle because I was so busy studying and trying to get in and trying to do this. So for a few months again, I was just like mainly visiting my mom, but not living with her. So there was not really a time to sit down and really explain everything. And my mom has a very eccentric personality. Like, she wants to talk, and when she's asking questions, she's asking like 10 questions at a time, and she's like talking. She's yapping, and sometimes she's kind of like doesn't understand when you're telling her something and she doesn't like it. She's kind of like, I disagree, I don't believe what you're saying, whatever you're saying now can go up my you know what I'm saying, like that. So she's just on that vibe. So there was never really a time for me to be like, Mom, listen to me, this happened, you know. We didn't have that going on because I hadn't even been raised or lived with her for so long. Actually, it was my grandma, then it was my dad, and then my dad still, you know. So I didn't really have that with my mom yet, you know. And I'm still a kid, so I'm not really emotionally intelligent enough to be aware and conscious and then express all at the same time, you know. So I got back, my dad put me into school, got into school, but then my dad started to blame me for from my uncle going to prison and things like that now for what happened. And my dad started to say like, I ruined people's lives, I'm going to do the same thing to him, blah blah blah. And he started to also low-key get abusive, actually, a bit strange with it. So I was just like, you know what, I don't need your money. Like, you're well off, but I don't need it. So, like, forget your schooling, forget your house. I'm going to go to my mom, and we're going to figure it out. Right? Cool. So, that happened. He cut me off. I dropped out of that school. I was going to, like, a really nice, like, international college. But then since I dropped out and I cut him off, I wasn't in school for, like, really long. And I really wanted to go to school. So, my mom found, like, a homeschooling facility for me. And I'd been doing that. So while that had been happening, I'd been traveling to PE to see my dad and build a relationship with him.
He was now staying at PE.
But then when I went to PE, my dad started to physically abuse me. The way my uncle had beating me, like speaking to me weird, touching me weird, like just weird things are going on now because I don't know why he did that, and I don't question why he did that, because for me I just feel like this is a grown-ass man, he knows better, and this is what he chose to do. So this is wrong, this is weird, and I think I need to leave. So that year I left PE, but then something strange was happening now when I wanted to leave. We're coming to Joburg, and I had planned to leave to Joburg around this time. School finished, so I planned to leave. And then my dad was saying that people are following him. We need to leave PE tonight, not the next few days. Tonight, like now. So booked a flight.
Was that the house he bought?
No, it was a house he was living in, but now we're going back to Joburg, and I was living with my mom, you see, so in PE back and forth, but now we're going from PE back to Joburg, but now I'm coming with my dad, because he's saying people are following him, something is happening, like people know that he's here. And I was like,
was he still at the military?
Yeah, he had that military association, and I was just kind of like, who are these people, like what's going on? And he was just kind of like, I need to tell you a few things that I hadn't been able to for some time. And I was just like, oh damn, something's going on now. After all this abuse, I have to listen and care for this person. Like, I was in a really conflicting place as a child, you know, like now, I was 15 at the time. So I was just, imagine your father's telling you there are things you need to know. And I was just like, okay. So when we arrived, we didn't go back to the house that he bought in Joburg. We went to my mom's house. And my dad, who actually didn't really like my mom, decided to stay over, and he begged her like, please just let me stay the night, please. I need to be here. I really need to be here, please. She was like, you know what, whatever, just sleep on the couch, it's cool. That night he gave me all his passwords, his passport, his ID, everything, his laptops, everything that he found valuable, he gave to me. And he said, here are the passwords, here are the people that you can get help from, here's everything that you need to know. Just, if anybody asks you for this, do not tell them, period. Don't give these people anything. Don't tell them anything. Even my friends, don't. I was just like, oh, damn. His friends, who I consider my uncles, are now people that I shouldn't even talk to. Like, what's going on? Now, he was there for like a day. That night, the next day, he was kind of like, I'm going to the bank. I need to sort out a few things. There's a few things that are messed up, but I think I'm going to just take out some money. He was explaining to me, and he was then reminding me, here are the passwords, here are my laptops, here's my ID, here's my passport, here are my things. Please keep them. I'll be back for them. I was like, okay, cool, no problem. Went to the bank, and since then, he'd not been back till today.
Till today.
Till today.
Wow.
Till this day.
So, do you think maybe something big happened, or maybe they took him, or?
I'm not sure, because I don't like to fantasize about someone that was abusing me. Because when I do think about it, it hurts. Because I now have to be concerned for someone that I didn't even want around. What is my luck? What is my luck of the person that was really hurting me now suddenly disappearing? I felt a bit paranoid, actually. I felt like I was gonna get blamed for the whole thing. Like, you, this child, you genius psychopath who did this to a grown man who has a job and a life. I was like, yo, I was scared. So I didn't do anything about it, because everyone around me was kind of telling me, like, your dad does this. He has the kind of money to just disappear and come back when he feels like it. So don't worry about it. So
maybe he's still hiding somewhere else
out there.
If he's there watching this, if he's there watching this right now,
what would you like to say to him?
We good. Do you?
Yeah.
I'm a hustler now. I figured it out.
Okay.
That's what he needs to know, because since he left, it was just me and my mom. And this was not only me getting to know my mom. This was us now surviving together. Rent, bills, education. I have a little sister that I adopted. Her name is Lungi. We had to take care of her too. You know, all of those kind of things. It was just a lot, and I feel like for a long time I didn't own up. I was just kind of like, no, I don't need to do that. Like, I'm a kid. You're my mom. You have to take care of me. Blah blah blah. Being so entitled to money I don't even have. But I feel like growing up rich, it was kind of a reality check, not having all that money at my access. And I know that, like, people would think that because I live in Sandton and because I work and because I know these kind of people and because I was in the industry and this and that and this and that, that I'm very good, I'm very well off, like I'm a baller type thing. And not knowing that it's a struggle. And thing is, I have never pretended to not struggle. If I couldn't do something, I didn't do it. But you see, I made that mistake of doing that at other people's expense. If I wanted to go out, I would use that person. These are the people who are going to go out. This is what we're doing. Because that's the lifestyle. Because we're going out. They want us there. So that's what we're going to do. I feel like at the time, I wasn't so healthy and aware in my mentality about how people feel, how I make them feel, and how my behavior affects them in the long run. I feel like I really didn't know that about people. And I feel like I was very entitled to my own things. I was selfish. You know, like that.
Cause I can hear you
part 2, man.
We're gonna need you on part 2. We're gonna need you on, because now I'm checking the time. So we're gonna need you on part 2 so that you can explain further what happened, you know, between you and your family and where you at right now and what you're doing and all of that. But so far your story, wow, like even I didn't know that you have such a story. But then we're gonna close it here and then we're gonna do part 2. For everyone out there, just comment there and ask more questions. What would you like to know and more? You know, just subscribe and like it. I'm shocked. How can you be in such a environment? You know. So man, yazin minang team. Valala, Uvulei. We love you. One love. Unlock stories. Unlock.
Shut up.
Yo.
Unlock your story. Unlock your story. I was getting dabari, bakupila bagi. Spalele, akhiphe emphakathi. Valala, I was emphakathini. Uthaba we are on your screens. I know you've been through the most, Kulumanati. If you ever been on Illuminati, come let's talk, let's unlock, uzofela phakathi. And ungavumi babusi.